This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, welcome to the DR Court e-filing training. I'm Magistrate Barbarino. I have with me Jennifer Petrella, and Isha
Hello.
Glass is on here too. Jennifer's our court administrator and my cohort in getting this e-filing going, and Isha is our navigator. You want to introduce yourself, Isha?
Hi, I'm Isha Glass. Isha Glass with Montgomery County Domestic Relations Court. I'm the navigator, and I also work with the e-filing committee.
Yep, she keeps us straight. So today we're going to cover how to e-file in DR Court with the new forms we have. We do have some new information with regard to our go live date. We have not hit our mark. Our vendors in the clerk's office have advised that they're not going to be ready to go on January 1, 2022. So we're hoping not for a long delay. It might be mid-January, but we'll keep you advised as to when it's going to go live. And then we'll go live and you guys will be all ready because you're attending this training. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you have any questions, go ahead and use the chat box, or you can interrupt me and say, hey, I got a question. I'm pretty flexible with regard to that. Hopefully right now you can see the Google with Mike Foley, Clerk of Courts, as the header that I'm going to click on. Can everybody see that? Yeah? Okay. We're good? Okay. So this is how you get to DR Court e-filing. There's a button over here that's pink at this point. It says e-file now. This is what it looks like now, but when DR Court joins, we are going to have a different view, and hopefully I have it here. Yes, I do. Now you can see the DR Court where it says General Division and Domestic Relations Division. So we'll be joining. If you get into e-filing and you see this, that means we're live. So take note. Each attorney is going to be required to have their own account, and what associated with that account is going to be a credit card. We are assured by Diane DePasquale, who is with us today, that it is ethical to use a credit card that gives you points or miles or whatever you want to use. A lot of people just designate one credit card for DR or for filing. If you already have a general division account, you can use that for DR Court. So you don't need two accounts, you don't need two logins or anything like that. It's all Mike Foley, Clerk of Courts. So if you're with Mike Foley, Clerk of Courts, and have an account, you don't need a new one. If you don't have one, we encourage you to get one now so you're not trapped in a, hey, I'm not getting a response, I need to file this now type of situation. If you have a probate court account and not a general division account, you will need to get an account because it's two different clerks. I'm in what we call the development area. So we have fake attorneys in here, and I went in as Attorney Henley earlier today to start a filing, so you guys don't have to watch me type, which is pretty nerve-wracking. So I put in the username and the password, and I'm going into what is our new look when you go in. This is both general division and domestic relations. So you can have your general division accounts on this as well as your domestic relations. If you don't have any general division, it's just domestic relations. You've got drop downs that go new case, existing case, my filings, draft filings, which are the same as all these buttons here. Cases, my filings, existing cases, new cases, sort of redundant, notifications, and filing charges. That is not over here. You can figure out what you're being charged and keep track of what you want to bill your clients. My profile allows you to look at your profile, change your password, and view your logon history. This logon history can get important if somebody gets a hold of your information and starts filing under your name. We've got some tricky people out there who might be able to do that. If you check your login information and see, wait a minute, wasn't here on Saturday night at 11 o'clock. I didn't file this. Change your password real fast. So what I'm going to do is go into new cases, and that gets you to what court division do you want to file in? Montgomery County Civil or Criminal, or Montgomery County Domestic Relations? We're Domestic Relations. It asks you what case type you want to file in: annulment, dissolution, divorce, domestic violence, legal separation, child support, or custody only. This is not a post-decree filing. Registration of foreign judgment, registration of foreign support order, or UCCJEA. You have to click on one of these to start your case. And you click on it, and it comes up with a filer case number. In there, we would encourage you to put in your, either if you have a file case number for your client, or if you have a just the client name, because if you save it to draft, that's where you're going to figure out which one it is. So that is, I found very helpful when I'm playing with this. Then they're going to ask you with or without children, because we're going to require certain documents. And if you say with children, and it's a without children, and you don't give me an affidavit of, parenting proceeding affidavit, you're not going to get your filing through. And I haven't discovered whether you can change that at the last minute or not. So I already preloaded a case, so I'm going to go back, and it's going to go, wait a minute. Everything's going to be lost. Well, I didn't put anything in, so I don't care. When I do that, it sends me to this strange place. But I'm going to go here to the home and go to draft filings, because I went in earlier and drafted some filings. And this is where that filer case number I was talking about comes in handy, because until you file it, you don't get a case name, you don't get a case number. So if you're in the middle of doing something, you got to stop, and you saved it to draft, you're not going to have this. So you're going to be going, okay, what time of day was it? What day was it? If you just put it in here, it helps. And these are all filing ID numbers, which help us track something. This is something nice about e-filing that allows us to track everything that comes through. You know what, Jennifer? I didn't start with my PowerPoint. I usually start with a PowerPoint. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on a second. This'll help. Is the PowerPoint coming up?
I just thought you were keeping things fresh.
No, I just can't remember anything. So hold on a sec, folks. This will help out if you haven't seen my PowerPoint presentation yet. Is the PowerPoint up, Jennifer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay, folks. This will tell you what the differences are between what we do now and what we're going to do in e-filing. And it's for, we wrote it for attorneys and paralegals because we all know paralegals do most of the work. How does it work? All filings will come through the e-filing system, no exceptions. You can submit 24/7, any day a week. Fees and costs are paid through the e-filing system. I was talking about the credit card. All originals must be maintained by counsel or self-represented parties. Don't throw anything out, because you're going to potentially, if somebody signs something, you might have to produce it and say, yeah, you did sign it. What's different? Attorneys will be served through the e-filing system. There's no more putting in the mail and sending it down the road or up the building. Some people just walk it up the building. Everything you file will automatically be forwarded to the appropriate staff member for handling, except answers. We don't care about answers, so we don't send those anywhere. The judge and the magistrate signatures are obtained through e-filing, so there's no more running your order down to try and get a signature. You got to send it in. For a while now, you guys have been doing the 3-inch margin at the top of the first page, which will continue. That is because the clerk's timestamp and the signatures of judges and magistrates on non-state forms will be required. That's usually the CPO forms. Domestic violence. Speaking of CPO, They'll be filling out, the petitioners and attorneys can fill out the petition and other forms via a computer program that we've developed, and it's filed through the Domestic Violence Coordinator. We're going to have 6 computers in our lobby, and those carousels you've been tripping over for a couple of years now, where people will sit down and be able to start their petition and chat with our DV coordinator. There will be an option to start this off-site. So if you're in your office and you want to start it off-site and then send your attorney and your petitioner down, you have to do that within 3 business days, or we'll reject the filing back to you. As I showed you earlier, there's tracking numbers, and so nothing can be lost for long. At least that's what the vendors tell us. Again, Montgomery County Clerk of Courts controls the e-filing accounts. The attorneys are required to have one. There's a 3% convenience fee added to all cases when e-filing starts. For those of you who work with Volunteer Lawyer Project, Kathy will have her own account, and the assigned attorney will be done as co-counsel. So she'll be handling the filing and service and things like that. So your attorney, VLP attorney, will still maintain the hands-off thing they've been doing lately, or since VLP started. You are responsible for your account. It's one attorney, one account. Again, if somebody gets a hold of it, you're going to be responsible for what's filed under it, and you're going to have a hard time proving it wasn't you. So you can do that, but it's might as well just keep changing your password so you stay safe. I say treat it like your bank account, especially since it's connected to one of your credit cards. You cannot file documents containing links. Don't give me an external link. And do not exceed 10 megabytes in size or 30 megabytes in size for one submission. I don't see that happening in DR court. It's probably more toward general division. This is where it gets tricky. If you're filing a petition, an affidavit, something that doesn't need to be signed by the court or a date added by the court, you submit it in PDF. And the system is set up that if you try to submit a Word document and it's supposed to be a PDF, the system will tell you. If it's a proposed order, an entry, or a document containing a notice of hearing, which you'll find out is only one document now, it shall be submitted in Word. And again, the system will tell you. Here are a few other Montgomery County local rules that are current in the rule online. So if you want to look at those, feel free, but I didn't think it was necessary to go into them details. Signatures. When a lot of you have started doing this, even though we're not in e-filing, because things are e-filed, you can sign them, but then you put them into your scanner and they're scanned in. So we will accept a /S/ with the attorney name on it, and then the rest of it, bar number and things like that. But maintain those so you can prove you signed it, especially when you get to the multiple signatures. If you're doing a stipulation or an agreed entry, 2 or more signatures on there, you want to be able to prove that, yeah, you really did sign it, or yes, you did give me permission to sign your name with an /S/ Jane Doe. Okay. So maintain your original signatures so you can prove, and the local rule says until the case is closed, but as you guys know, we're all attorneys and we keep everything forever, so I don't really worry about you dumping things. All the signatures of the magistrates and judges will come through e-filing. We have signed and imprinted that on the documents. So it'll look like a signature, but it will be actually an imprint of our signatures. Let's see, what else does it say? Yeah, it'll be just the same as if we signed it in ink. You get a receipt for everything. You can get a receipt for everything. You can get a receipt that it got sent in. It could get that it's been approved, that it's been filed. It's you can set up your account to get a lot of receipts if you want to drive yourself nuts. Now this is tricky also because you send it in, which you submit it, but it still has to get past the clerk, like always. If it's rejected by the clerk, you lose your date and time of when you submitted it. So if it's something's due Saturday at midnight and you send it at 11 p.m., but you forgot something that's critical and it gets rejected, you lose that date and time. So you got to keep that in mind. When you resubmit it, it's going to be a new date and time that's going to get timestamped. But if it is accepted and you send it in on Saturday at 11 p.m., it's going to give you the file date of Saturday at 11 p.m. You can charge your client more for overtime. This is the official timestamp that is going on the documents in the top right-hand corner. You got the date and the time. It doesn't distinguish between general division or domestic or DR court. Gives you the case number, which will tell you what division you're in, and then a docket ID number, which will help if something needs to be tracked down, or you said, "Hey, wait a minute, I really did. Why didn't it hit this or that? Why isn't it in the docket when I look it up on ClerkWeb?" You could give us that number and we can track it down. Because as we know, because we're being delayed from January 1, the system errors do happen, and you need to be able to let us know what we're looking for. And if we can, nung-pro-tunk something back if the computer failed you. Notice of electronic filing. This is your service. It constitutes service under Civil Rule 5. When something is filed and you're an attorney on the case, you will get an email saying something's been filed in this case. Go look at it. That is your service. It's not open an envelope anymore because all attorneys are being part of the e-filing system. You don't have to send it out anymore because once it's filed, if the other side's registered user is on the case, they'll get this. But that doesn't apply to self-represented parties who are not using the e-filing system. We don't anticipate a lot of self-represented parties using the e-filing system, but if they do, the system will let you know who needs to be served by snail mail and who's getting served by electronic filing. All court-generated documents will be served through electronic notice of electronic filing. So keep your email up so you can find out what's going on. And that's going to constitute service. So if there's a time frame where you need to respond, that's where it starts. If you present a proposed order and we sign off on it, it gets filed, it gets put into the notice of electronic filing. Oh, it's been filed. You need to print it out and mail it to self-represented parties. That still applies. We're not mailing it to self-represented parties. This is what we put in for a certificate of service. I recommend you put it, and it's in our rules so you can see, get it from there. Plus, I think this PowerPoint might be on our website. I think it is. You have two different paragraphs, one for electronic filing and one for snail mail. You need both. So I just put this on all my documents and not have to worry about it. Is it a snail mail case? Is it an electronic filing case? Date and service date and time to respond or act. Because you no longer get service by snail mail, you lose those 3 days that the civil rules give you for responding. Those go away. So it doesn't go away for self-represented parties, but it does for attorneys. So you don't have that extension. Act accordingly. Start recalculating how you calculate things. Again, if something happens that you don't get a copy of something, let us know. We'll investigate and we'll figure out what went wrong if something went wrong. Now, questionnaires. You guys know about our questionnaires. They started a while back. When I started, they were 2-page put together that you had to put in the typewriter and type the information on. We now have electronic questionnaires. There's no longer paper questionnaires. There's going to be a primary party questionnaire and a secondary party questionnaire. The primary party questionnaire is contained in the case initiation and e-filing. We have put these questionnaires on our website so you can print them out and give them to your clients to fill out, so you have the information when you go to initiate the case. That's what would be my recommendation. The secondary party questionnaire is going to be in paper, because in our enhancements we hope to have a secondary party electronic filing questionnaire, but we don't have that now. So when you file your answer, you're going to have to file a secondary party questionnaire. Process servers will have their own e-filing account and will receive their pleadings through e-filing and return of service through e-filing. So make sure your process server has their account. This is a big change with regard to how we do processing here. Oral hearings on temporary orders, you just request it. There's no longer a notice of hearing. That's because the way e-filing works, it's just easier for us to produce the notice of hearing than to bring yours up, make changes to it, resave it. It's a whole thing. So we're going to be doing notices of hearing from now on. Except in ex parte custody or parenting time issues, when there's an emergency, do the notice of hearing. Again, temporary restraining orders, they're still going to come in. You file the motion in a PDF and the proposed order in a Word. And we're going to have to do the saving thing with that. But it's the nature of the beast. Motions for continuance will no longer require a proposed entry. What is going to happen is that's going to come to our LSD department. They're going to get together with the judicial officer and say yay or nay. If we say nay, we'll immediately put in an entry denying it. It will be served on the attorneys via the electronic notice of electronic filing. We'll put the entry in the mail for self-represented parties. And if the attorney is the one who asked for it, they're going to have to call the self-represented party and let them know it was denied if they knew about it in the first place. But if we say yay, we're going to do an immediate entry granting it. It's not going to contain a date yet. We're going to put it into the e-filing system, so you'll get a notice of electronic filing of a yay. We'll put it in the mail to self-represented parties, and then assignment's going to get a copy of that. And then they'll start doing their calling and getting a new date, and then assignment will file a notice of hearing on the continuance. Again, you got to keep the self-represented parties notified of what's going on. Any questions on that? Okay, I don't hear anything. So on final decrees, final judgments, it's decrees, we're requiring 14 days prior to the hearing for dissolutions and non-cons, legal separations and annulments. We need time to review that before the hearing and get it ready for the hearing. So put that into your tickler system that we need it 14 days prior. Another change, and this makes sense if you think about it, separation agreement and shared parenting plans. They come in attached to the dissolution, the petition and or the request for shared parenting. And then we physically remove them and put them onto the final decree. Well, you can't do that in the e-filing world. So what we're going to request you to do is still attach it to the petition and the request for shared parenting, but also just the shared parenting plan and just the separation agreement will be submitted separately. And that's going to go into a separate file. And when you prepare your final decree, you don't have to attach it because it's ready to be attached when the judge signs it. So attach what what is not attached. Are 3 documents that have to be attached to everything with children. The standard order of parenting time, the healthcare order, and the obligee rights and remedies. I can't believe I remembered those. So if it's attached to your separation agreement or shared parenting plan, you don't need to attach it to your final decree. But if you didn't do that, then you need to attach it to the final decree. And I would recommend putting your parties' names on the shared parenting plan and separation agreement in case it gets lost. Again, on post-decree motions, we're going to be preparing the notice of hearing. We've also got it set up that if it's a non-financial post-decree motion, we're sending it to mediation. If it's a financial post-decree motion, it's going to go directly to assignment. We can talk about mediation when you come in for the pretrial. If you have a multi-branch motion, you can decide whether you want mediation or not. If you have one branch of each, put whichever first, and the system will send it flying the way it's supposed to go. But do not combine your multi-branch motion with a motion for relief from Rule 60 or 3119.961, because that takes a different track. That goes to the judge for consideration. It doesn't go to assignment. It doesn't go to mediation. So if you put it in the middle of your motion, we're not going to see it, and we're not going to be happy, and we're going to probably kick you out. So file that separately and don't include it in a multi-branch motion. Motions to show cause, we're still going to have an order to show cause. It's going to have to be in Word because the judge signs it. Self-represented parties, not much is going to be different. Their documents are still going to be approved by compliance. We'll have some computers outside of compliance so they can prepare the primary party questionnaire. And once they complete that, they're going to go down, and it's the clerk staff who are going to be entering their documents into the e-filing system. And yes, that was a fight. No, I'm kidding. They said, sure, no problem. Okay, the end of my PowerPoint is troubleshooting. If you have any questions or concerns, you can contact me, Jennifer, Sharon Harness, or Rachel Doyle. Speaking of Rachel Doyle, her name should be on the end of your documents where you have the service information with Mike Foley, and some of you still have Sharon Harness on there. It needs to be Rachel Doyle now, just in case you hadn't heard that.
Also,
So,
if I can just jump in real quick, anybody who wanted a copy of the slides that Barb just went through, they are on our website. Right below the judge's picture, there's the COVID kind of warning, and underneath that is the link for these trainings as well as the PowerPoints. Thanks.
any questions on the PowerPoint? Okay, now I'm back to where I started. The Murphy matter. This is where we're at, but I'm going to go back so you can see how I got there. I put in Murphy, a divorce with children. Then this box turns blue, and I put in primary party information. So I'm going to, and it ends up here. So I'm going to click on this so you see the primary party information that is required. Everything with an asterisk is required. Am I showing the right thing, Jennifer?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. So first name, Maureen, last name, Murphy. Social security number, you can use dashes or not. It takes it either way. The birth date, the only recommendation I have is start with the year, because if you're at the beginning of the year and you start at 2021, it won't let you go to the later months. And I got frustrated doing that. But Jennifer just types it all in, and I started doing that myself. It gives you the age once you type in the date of birth. Sex, if you have clients who don't identify one way or the other, they have to pick something because it is an asterisk field. If you need an interpreter, we open up a box and say, what kind of an interpreter do you need? Let us know the language, dialect, or if it's American Sign Language. Currently pregnant, if you say yes, tell us what the date is. And again, obviously this is forward dates, not backward dates. And it only gives you up to probably 8.5 months, maybe 9 months. So if you say no, that goes away. We, as always, require the number of marriages, and that includes the marriage they're currently in. Birthplace, in Toledo, Ohio, USA. Education. Postgraduate, if you do that, they say how many years and what degree did you get. You can have a confidential address, just click yes, and you don't have to fill this in. You click no, you can give them home or work. Brown Street, Dayton, Ohio. Then comes jurisdiction. Are you a resident of Montgomery County in Ohio? Yes, yes. I don't know. If we put no, do we kick them out? I don't know. Cell phone is required. Here's where all the current court cases are, and I've preloaded them. So you type it in here, location here, and you click add, and it fills up here. And you can revise those or not if you need to change them. If you want to get rid of one, you can go like that. Same thing with domestic violence cases. If you put one in here, go like that, it loads down here. I already preloaded their 2021 from Greene County. Don't ask me how they got to Greene County. I was just messing around. So, and if they have other legal cases, it doesn't ask for location, but I've just been putting, I guess we could put in, I wonder if we can put in just the name of the type. Yep, you can just say the name or the type of case if they have another case. I've been focusing on case numbers. I guess I didn't have to. Here's the attorney information. If you have co-counsel, you can add co-counsel, click add, and it'll load down here. If you have aliases or former names, you can put the full thing in here. If it's just a nickname, you put it in here, click add, it fills up down here. Maureen's nickname is Mo. If you have an additional address you want to put in, you can open this up and fill in the address. You can put in the work, but you don't have to because we get into work down here. Physical description, race is a required field. We have a drop-down box. We don't have a type-in box, so you got to pick one of these. Height, weight, eye color is a drop-down. Hair color is drop-down. Eye color is a drop-down also. Then public assistance, yes, no, pending. Are you retired, yes or no? If you're enlisted in the military, it opens up the box. And Magistrate Sylvain said, what happened to SpaceX? I guess that's another branch of the military we didn't include. So you tell us what military duty station, active duty, reservist, and if they're deployed. If you say no, that doesn't even show up. Employer, if you are employed, it says yes, this drop down, this opens up, and you put in the information, click add, and you get it down here. So she's working at Rand Industries, she's a supervisor, there's the address, phone number, her hours, her earnings, and she's not getting any pension. I can revise that if I want. If I read it and I went, oh, $9,000. No, it's $9,000, $90,000. I can edit it and put it in. If you put something, let's show that. Trying to think of something okay. If I just put 5-7 and I went to save it, it'll yell at me. That's not how we wanted to see it. You have to go back and fix it. So we say, okay, I'll go back and fix it. Where is it? Oh, it's the pink part. It's the pink. So it actually tells you where to go to fix something if the computer doesn't like what it sees. So definitely save. Don't go back. Don't clear. Don't go back. If you haven't saved it, it'll get rid of everything. Don't touch those buttons. So I saved it, and then I went on. Then this one turned blue, and I went on and filled in the husband. And it automatically chooses the defendant. If you're doing a dissolution, it will say petitioner. So that's why we use primary party, secondary party, because we have so many names for our different parties. So William Dooley, social security number, date of birth, not required, but I put them in. Age, sex, how many year marriages. Now he needs an interpreter because he was born in Paris and he speaks French. Paris obviously doesn't have a state, so you can avoid that. It doesn't yell at you anymore. Put in the country. He has postgraduate, 8 years, and he's got an MD. Yeah, I know. He probably speaks English better than I do, but I needed to show you the interpreter part. He lives on Green Street. He has been a resident. Yes, yes. And I put in his cell phone number. And then I put in the same cases down here because they're both involved in those cases. If he has an attorney, you can put it in here. Jennifer, that's a question I have. If I put in the attorney here, does that make them an attorney on the case, or do they still have to enter an appearance? We need to get that answer, unless you know
I will
it.
take a note.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that they can't file, but notice will be sent to them, but we'll confirm.
Okay. So yeah, notices will be sent, but you got to put in a notice of appearance right away. So if you want to put in an alias, doc, race, height, everything here. Again, the same deal with military. And then I put in that he's working the ER doc at the Miami Valley Hospital on Main Street, midnight to 8 shift. And I saved that. Then, because it's with children, the add the children pops up. And I added the children already. And here's where you really need to look at this, because it says, is it a child of the parties? Because, you know, we ask different questions depending on whether it's a child of the parties or not. And this is a child of the parties. It's little Murphy Dooley, who's born on 1/15/13. It's a male. I didn't bother with the social security number. Going to school, don't laugh at the grade. I'm not sure if that's right or not. And living with mother. And I saved it. And little Murphy Dooley pops up here and is designated a child. Then has a sibling, same parents, name, female, going to school, what grade, living with father. Save. So those two are children of the parties. But who's this not a child of the parties? So let's look at that person. She's not a child of the parties. So you click no, put in the name, date of birth, sex, and then we ask those questions. Are they residing with the parent of the marriage? No. Is child support being paid? Yes. Child support being received? No. So obviously, in my mind, this is the child of the father who was living in Paris with his first wife or first girlfriend, because he's only had one marriage. Date of marriage comes next. So you have all your parties in here, all your people, plaintiff, defendant, child, and then not a child of the parties is other. If it's not a child of both parties, in whatever case you're dealing with, that goes for getting unmarried and doing a domestic violence, it's designated as another, and that'll be important if you're helping somebody with a domestic violence. So the next are their marriage information. They were married on 2/14/11 in Columbus. This is where I stopped putting things in so you could see what happens. If they're cohabitating at present, nothing happens. No. Cohabitating? No. Yeah, so if the answer is yes, that goes away. And then date separated. And then who left first? And it's automatic, you got to pick one. It's nice because you just pick one. And then next is the real estate information. Do they own real estate? So the joint holding would be where she left from, which is where he's still living, which is Green Street. And I have a new keyboard. But she went ahead and bought, when she left in January, Brown Street. So we're going to add that as the primary party and say they load here, and you can edit that. And we'd like you to see Dayton, Ohio, but you guys don't want to spend time with me doing that. So there are your questions. So what comes next? We're ready to file our documents. But let's look at the court questionnaire so you guys see what work you just put up with watching me do. You've seen this document all your career. We didn't change much of it, but it does fill it in with French, where they were married, what the kids are. Here's your other child, not of the marriage. Here's your real estate, and here's the rest for the court to work with. So that's what all those questions generated. So I recommend you get that information from your client before you go to file. So here we are at the place where you're going to file, and let me direct your attention to the interpreter queue. That will go to our Susan Medvey, who arranges for our interpreters. And so she has a queue that says, hey, this case needs an interpreter. And she starts making arrangements. We have a drop-down category, which will narrow down the documents that are available for you to pick from. We start with initial pleadings. That's when you want to start a case. We've put everything you need to start a case in there. Domestic violence, conciliation, FSO, OS. Reports, that's for guardian ad litems. Return of service is for your process server. Shared parenting decree, I couldn't find any other place to put it, so I put it there. Then we broke it down with attorney, what attorneys might need to do. Here's when it comes to filing your decree, it's here. If you're doing discovery, it's here. If you're doing instructions for service after you do your first initiation, they're available here. Don't come down here and use any of the court ones because you'll frustrate yourself because it won't happen. So up here, I'm going to go to initial pleadings. And then what document type am I looking to file? And here are all the documents that hopefully you need when you go to file your first divorce. Your divorce, not your first divorce, but a divorce. I'm going to start with a financial affidavit of financial disclosure for temporary order request. Doesn't matter what order you put them in. This requires you to put in by who's filing, because this is actually what's going to show up on the clerk web when you go to look in the case. So I say by plaintiff, by wife, by Maureen, whatever you want to do, whatever you're comfortable with. Then you have to go out to your desktop. At this point, before you start doing this, you want to prepare all your documents and save them to your desktop, however you do that, because you're going to have to go out to your desktop and go get the documents. So make sure you have everything prepared before you start. And where did I put them? Okay, so here's my Murphy file. I have all her documents in here. And I'm going to start with the affidavit of financial disclosure. It's a PDF because nobody needs to sign it. And the computer's looking for a PDF. So I made it, I chose it, I picked it, I put it in here. It's sort of like adding an attachment to an email. I add it in, and it ends up here. Then I have to go and do the next thing, which is application for child support services. And I'm going to start doing a quick by P, so I don't waste all your time. And there's the application for child support services. I'm going to add it. Goes down there. And complaint for divorce with children. And my complaint. Get it. Add it. I'm just going to use the court, the sheriff's department. So I want a restraining order. So I'm going to do a motion for restraining orders. Choose file. Motion TRO. Add. This sort of tells me what I need. I need the information for parenting proceeding affidavit. Choose file. Parenting proceeding affidavit. Add in. What else do I need? I need the entry granting the TRO, which is right here. IP. Now this is going to be signed by a judge. So as you can see, it's a Word document. If I try to do something other than a Word document, it's going to get rejected by the computer. So that's coming down here. Now, do I have everything? I think I do. Right? Let's see. I'm not appointing a process server. I'm not doing anything crazy today. So I'm ready to go. So this is when I do my instructions for service on a new case, because I'm going to add everything I've already added in there. It's a slick system that the clerk's office has. So I've got my instructions for service new case. This is grayed out. It's not available. That's because they're going to prepare it for you. So you don't have to prepare your own. You have to just get into the system, load everything. I'm going to have the clerk serve, but you have all these options: process server, sheriff, registered, and you have to do this waive service or hold service. If you got a waiver of service, like in a dissolution, you have to come in here and hit waive service. And I'm going to use service by clerk. Now, if I got a process server, I'm going to say who my process server is. And then what documents do I want to be served? And you just click add. I kept going into here, clicking on it, going. Then our vendor showed me you go like this. They're all gone. They're all in here. And that's what I want to serve. And down here is who am I serving? And you got to remember this system works both general division and ours. So general division might have multiple defendants, some of whom might have waived service. So that's why this is here. So next, it comes back and you says, okay, you got everything here, you got everything you want. How big is it? Do I need to get rid of something? If you have to remove something, get rid of something, get rid of your instructions for service and start over again so you have all the documents that are supposed to be served. Then we're ready to file. So click next. And it's thinking. It's thinking. We've given it a lot of things to think about. And here's your review and approve page. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's how it drops down or breaks down. Convenience fee of $14.25. If you have a waiver, you can click the waiver button. If you need to change case data, you can type on there. If you add or remove a document, you can do it there. But again, make sure your instructions for service are up to date. You can move it to draft. If your client hasn't paid you the money yet, you can move it to draft and have it ready. If you want to cancel, you cancel, but everything's deleted. So all that work we just did. If you go back, don't go back. It's usually not good when you go back. So I'm going to hit submit. I'm just going to say payment's going to be hit when it gets filed. Now hopefully it's thinking. It's not telling me it's thinking. But the submit button is light blue instead of dark blue. And this is the dev system. And this is why we're not going January 1. Okay. So what usually comes up is a move it to draft, bring it back like that. Do it again. Say okay again. Okay, Jennifer, I broke the system. Anyway, it comes up and you can track what you filed. I'm going to log out of Elizabeth. Well, yeah. I was going to show you how to do a post decree, but she doesn't have it. There's no payment method selected. That could be right. Thank you. Who was that? Nicole, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm sorry, Barb. I thought you had made it through. My bad.
No. Okay. So your filing has been submitted, and there was no circle to pick the wallet. So maybe we don't have a wallet in for Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Filing status. This is where you get the filing status. So I take it Nicole has been in general division. So we're waiting approval. It's not going to get approved because nobody's approving things in dev. So I'm going to go back home, draft filings, and I prepared a Murphy DV. I'm going to go through this real fast because it looks pretty much the same thing, but there's a lot more questions. You come in and it gives you, and you can do this at your desk with your client if you want to. Again, I put this up here. It has different definitions of who's what, what's an advocate, what's a respondent, to help you with jurisdiction. If for our court you have to be 18 years or older. If you say no, it'll stop and say, wait. We won't have chat available if you're not on the floor. So 18 years or older, filing for my safety, protect the children. Minor in common, yes. Put the information in just like the other one, except for when you get to Williams, all your safety concerns. Are you comfortable saying what you think in front of them? If you have a child, are you scared? Child, you just go through with your client and pick what's appropriate. And then guns, knives, and save. And then you pick what your relationship is. Are you currently living together? This is that big paragraph where people say what happened and why I'm scared. Then what do you want them to do or not do, actually? What do you want the court to grant you? And actually, we have an exclusive motor vehicle here, so I could say books or something. And down here is where you put in other cases, other people involved with your children. And then we say, if you're here, click next and click submit, and then sign in with the public coordinator. If you're not here, you've got 3 business days to come to court between 8:30, 11:30, and 1:15 and 3:30 to get it done. Click next. Well, I asked for a vehicle, it wants to know which. Oh, it tells me I made a mistake and it turns pink. At least it's not red. So here are all the documents. It's no longer your client sitting out in the hallway writing their name 5 times and writing their kids' names 5 times. Everything's prepared by answering the questions in the computer. You get a generated petition with their name on it, their concerns, the children, they're your concerns, and everything you've typed in is filled up on and they never leave our floor. So it goes to our coordinator. Here's your information for parenting proceeding affidavit. This happens in DVs. It doesn't happen in DRs. You still have to do a paper and submit information. And then law enforcement worksheet. And then if you click next, it automatically goes to submit. And it goes to our public coordinator who will look it over, send it down for filing. It comes right back up to them. She sends that in the prepared order to the magistrate who's hearing the ex partes. We hear the ex partes, we sign it. It goes right back down to the clerk's office and back up to the public coordinator, who will be a deputy clerk and be able to sign off on that. And again, you got the filing status. And we didn't have trouble with that because there's no payment options. So I'm going to show you real quick what a post decree, what you need to post decree. So we're going in as Attorney Keith Kearney. We're going to go to existing cases, pick an existing case to e-file on. And it takes you right back to, I want to put my document in. So you already have your document prepared. It's going to be an attorney. I usually pick on discovery. What about discovery? Notice of submission of discovery. And that's by, let's say plaintiff, if I can type. And then I go out into my computer and pick, let's pretend this is a notice. And I add it. And then I hit next. And then it doesn't ask me for payment, thank you. And then if I want, if I know they've moved, this is where I can change their information, update their information for the court. But I hit submit, it goes in. I don't have to worry about serving the other attorney. I don't have to worry about, I do have to worry about serving pro se, and that'll be sent in. And if it's something that you want to be addressed, if it's a motion or anything, it'll go to the proper judicial person to review it. That, I think I've covered everything. Anybody need me to cover anything that I didn't cover? Questions, concerns, suggestions? Don't panic, it'll be okay. You guys probably know this better than we do.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us again, and we will still have a couple more, at least one more training coming up. So if you need anything, you remember the PowerPoint is on the website and you have our contact info.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.